But you mentioned earlier, jump around, we'll have to talk about the White Betty story.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes into, along with you working down on the gangway during disembarkation. I think we were doing tenders. And
we were on tender tickets. You were in the lounge doing tender tickets, and I was on the gangway. Yes,
exactly. And of course, Yvette phonetically is Yvetty. So that was my nickname for Yvette, was Yvetty. And so when we were on the radio and we had to communicate with each other via the walkie-talkies, I would always go, "Come in, Yvetty." And we did that, all the time. We thought absolutely nothing of it because that was my name for Yvette, was Yvetty.
That's my nickname.
We're doing tender tickets one time, and this lady keeps on, because why do you keep calling her White Betty? And that's how Yvette became forever known as
White Betty.
White Betty.
They were so offended on my behalf because when she came down to the gangway, she was so upset. She said, "I know that you're really fair skinned, but for him to call you White Betty, that's just wrong."
Oh my God.
I was like, but he's not calling me that, but I can, with your accent, I can see how they would have misinterpreted maybe from the back of the room. But that's how rumors get started, or reputations get sealed.
Because I was straight from the Anderson, South Carolina, so I wasn't as refined and polished as I am right now with my diction. But I had a real nice Southern accent, and I'd say, "Why Betty?" So I thought, who's this Southerner calling her, White Betty? So, but now, if I were to talk to you now via a walkie-talkie, I think they would understand why Betty much more clearly. So,
now at that time, you were assistant cruise director, and I was social hostess then as well, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, you were the assistant cruise director. So when you first started in '94, you were cruise staff. And that was actually the very first year, because I went to work for Holland America, same as you, in '94 in that winter. That was when they rolled out that policy, because before that, they only had the dancers and singers and the cast were doing all the cruise staff activities. And that was the year they decided to separate the two and have professional cruise staff. So you were part of that initial wave of new hires, which is awesome that you have that status.
I remember that. Yeah, very well. We were the pioneers.
We were pioneers. Who would have thought?
I know. And oh my God, it's like my first cruise was on the Rotterdam as well. So going back to me being a, unpolished kid from Anderson, South Carolina, who didn't know anything about the world yet. I didn't know people of different nationalities, different religions. I hadn't traveled outside of the country much at all. So one of my first nights, not my first nights, but my first cruise, I was asked to host a table in the dining room. I went, okay. I'm like, okay, this will be nice. I get to go to the dining room. So I had no idea what I was getting into. So they put me at a table and they bring me the wine menu. And I look at it and my eyes almost popped out of my head, because it's written in this font that I had never seen before in my life. And there's all these different names of wine. One, I can't even read what it's saying, and I don't know what any of them are. So I was sweating. I didn't know what to do. And then I finally was able to make out a Merlot, which I knew not to call a Merlot, but I know, thank God there's a Merlot, and I could make out Kendall Jackson. I had never ordered.
Nice.
I had never ordered. So my first drink I ever ordered was a Kendall Jackson Merlot. So, okay, I got through that. I made it. Well, they brought it to the table. You know how they pour the little sample for you to taste and approve the bottle.
Oh, because as the host, you would have to do that as part of your job. Yep.
They poured that, and I said, I'd like the whole glass. And the people thought I was just being so funny and so charming. And I'm like, no, really, I'd like the whole glass. Thrown to the wolves. I ordered and I had absolutely no clue what I was doing. And I was scared to death when they put that wine menu in my hand, because I didn't know what to do. And I didn't know what to do with that little bitty sip of wine that they brought me.
But you learned quickly.
I did. And I honestly did. I think by the time we left the table, I think I told the people, I had no idea what to do. And I think they found that endearing, that I said, we have wine in a box where I come from. This is all new to me. So, and look at me now. I've graduated to Wang Wang.
Well, let me ask you, since you had you found the book in the bookstore of how to get a job on a cruise ship. From the time you read that book to getting on board that Holland America Line Rotterdam, how were your expectations that when you walked up that gangway, of course, you joined in dry dock of all times of least impressive and most disruptive environments, but what was your first impression of the ship and your cabin, the food? I mean, if you look at it from a guest point of view, what did you think back then? Do you remember?
I do. I was in awe. I thought it was awesome. I was not scared at all by the disarray of the ship. I met some of the other crew members right away. Mm-hmm. The OB was open, so we made friends very quickly during the dry dock. So I just remember being in awe, thinking this was amazing. And who am I to be getting ready to, my first cruise was going to be out of Vancouver, and it was a 16-day round trip Hawaii. And I just thought, this is awesome. And the only time I think I ever was nervous is when I had to do mileage pool for the first time and speak on a microphone out by the pool and write everybody's guesses down on the flip chart. And they gave me $5. And then
you got 3 guesses for $5, and then whoever came the closest without going over won the whole pot, right?
I do, but I remember the first day I had to host that event, and I had to stand up on the side of the pool with my microphone and get people to play mileage pool. It was the worst 2 minutes of my life. And then I kind of got addicted to having a microphone in my hand, and I never put it down.
With mileage pool, why don't you describe for the audience what a mileage pool actually is and what the game is? Just for
this was long before GPS. So what we would do is every day, starting at 11 a.m., we would have a contest for the guests. They could pay $5 and get however many guesses we determined were going to be allowed. And they had to guess how many nautical miles we have sailed since noon the previous day. Mm-hmm. And again, there was no GPS at the time. So people would put in their guess, and then we would go to the bridge at 12 noon. They would tell us. Mm-hmm. The captain would usually come on every day at 12 noon and do the voice from the bridge. And that's when he would announce how many nautical miles we had sailed. And at that point, we would be out there standing by the flip chart with a marker in our hand, and we would circle the one that was the closest. And whoever that person was that guessed that amount would get the entire total of whatever amount was put in. Some days it might be $20, $25. Some days it might be $100. But not long after that, GPS slowly started becoming available, and people had it. And so then there was always those people that accused other people
of cheating,
and doing that. So mileage pool kind of lost its thrill when GPS came around. Technology killed mileage pool.
It went away very quickly. I remember when I first started working on ships, which was in 1990, was my first cruise ship ever. And we did mileage pool. We had horse racing, obviously. We had bingo. This is the normal games. But mileage pool, I think, was the very first one that went away.
It did. But, everything has its time and its place. And mileage pool served its purpose. Uh-huh. And now it's just part of our history.
Just like If I Were Not Upon the Sea. That little fun show closer on last night of the cruise. That went away, but that was so much fun as well. Loved doing If I Were Not Upon the Sea.
Exactly. So lots of good things used to happen that don't happen anymore.
Yes, that's very, very true. That's very, very true. Thank you for joining me for today's Captain's Table Conversations with Yvette. Stay tuned for more and be sure to subscribe.